Hello and welcome to Valencia. We're here today for the last round of the 2016 FIM CEV Repsol Championship. It's been a fantastic year, which started right here back in mid-April, but in the words of Nelly Furtado, all good things must come to an end. My name is Harry Lloyd, and joining me in the commentary box today is Moto America racer Dakota Momola. We'll be here for all four of our fabulous races today at the Circuito de la Comunidad Valenciana Ricardo Tormo, the traditional end-of-the-season race for both the MotoGP and CEV championships. This 4-kilometre-long circuit houses 9 lefts and only 5 rights, so watch out as the right-hand side of the tyre can get cold. The first race on the agenda today is the first of 2 FIM CEV Repsol Moto3 Junior World Championship battles, and there's a title on the line and everyone on the grid has a point to prove before we head off for winter. Dakota, it's been a tricky morning for all these boys and girls out there on the grid. We had 55 entrants on the list. Not everyone has been able to qualify, but it's set to be a very hectic race. As we said, championship on the line, but we've also had a warm-up hit by rain, hit by wind, a big long red flag for some oil out there on track as well. Very, very tricky for these guys and girls.
Yeah, Harry, you know, it's good to be back here. So, yeah, I was out there this morning for the warm-ups, and it's always that tricky end of the year weather here in Valencia where it kind of gets cold and rainy, and then it stops rain, and it's the conditions that us racers hate, because we rather it be full-on rain or just completely dry, and it's not. So there's nothing worse if you standing on that grid and you find these little spit spots of rain on your shield. But anyways, it's going to be the same for everybody, and it's going to be interesting. This first Moto3 race is going to be a definitely interesting one because it's the first one. I know there's a championship on the line, like you were saying. Yeah. It's really close on the points. So I think it's between Ramirez and De La Porta.
Yeah,
and
Ramirez and De La Porta.
So they're 14 points apart, 2 races. A lot of things could happen.
Exactly, as you say, anything could happen. So as you rightly said, 14 points, 50 total points up for grabs. And that means that basically Lorenzo De La Porta can finish second to Marcos Ramirez in both races and still be champion. But this championship could be decided in this first race. If De La Porta were to go on and win this race and Ramirez were to finish outside the top 5 and therefore score less than 11 points, De La Porta could be crowned champion. Now, Ramirez has a pretty good record here at Valencia, whereas Lorenzo De La Porta has a bit of a sketchier record, shall we say. He started the year here with a 3rd place and a 5th place, so not his best result for Lorenzo De La Porta. And then last year at the end round, Lorenzo De La Porta was a bit of a missile, shall we say. In both races, he tried a very ambitious move in the last corner and took out 2 championship contenders in each race. So Lorenzo De La Porta, bit of a question mark here. Marcos Ramirez, he really has nothing to lose. He's going into this race, as we said, he really has to win both races and then just hope that someone like Kaito Toba, like Raul Fernandez, can get ahead of Lorenzo De La Porta. But if you thought the battle for first was tight, we have 9 riders in mathematical contention for 3rd place overall. Wow. So it's going to be an absolutely thrilling race no matter what happens. Here is the man on pole, Marcos Ramirez, a 139.489. That would have put him 6th on the World Championship grid. He obviously raced here last weekend with the World Championship. He did 143.466 on the Platinum Bay Real Estate Mahindra in qualifying there, but he did obviously have some problems, so that time is not quite representative. He was doing more 140s throughout the whole weekend, but still quicker on the KTM here and looking in great form.
For sure, you know, he comes back after 4 or 5 days ago after racing all weekend here with the big boys, World Championship guys, so he already he came here on Friday already knowing a little bit what's set up to ride on, and as you can see, he improved his lap time by a good shot, and that would have put him 6th on the grid in the World Championship. So you could see there's some top level over here, and it's just going to be a really, really good race. I mean, I know he's feeling a lot of pressure. He's probably thinking a lot about the championship, but I don't think he should. I think he should just, you know, race and race what's in front of him. Again, if the weather stays like this, which is dry, it's better for them both. If not, it's going to be a little gamble. And I know they repaved the turn 1, so it's a little bit different. I've spoken to a few riders here last weekend, and they said the grip is a lot better, a lot better. And I think Circuito Valencia did a really good job on that. So.
Yep. And so there we just saw the front row. Karel Haneker in second. He's definitely one to watch as a bit of a championship spoiler. Lorenzo Della Porta starting in third. Watch out for this boy here. Tony Arbolino took his first win back in the last race in Jerez, racing for that 58 Squadron team. Will be moving to the World Championship with them next year. That team obviously run by Paolo Simoncelli, the father of the late Marco Simoncelli. Tony Arbolino come on leaps and bounds this season. As we said, this is the second time we've actually raced here. We raced here when the season opened in mid-April, and Arbolino didn't have the best race there, but he was in contention for the last race of 2015. So one to keep an eye on, as is this man here, Kaito Toba, the leading Asia Talent Team rider. He took victory in the second race here earlier this year, the first ever win by a Japanese rider in this championship. And, you know, he's had a bit of an up and down season, some inconsistency, some crashes when fighting for good points. Unfortunately, one of his teammates, Ayumi Sasaki, won't be racing here today as he has a bit of an injured back and wasn't feeling 100%. So obviously important to be 100%. Toba, along with Sasaki, will be moving up to the World Championship. We have a huge list of riders moving up to the World Championship. We have Albert Arenas, who we're about to see on screen. He's going to the Aspar Mahindra team. Stefano Manzi, not racing here this weekend. He's moving to Sky Moto2. Tony Arbolino, as we said, going to the 58 Squadron course team. There's the bike of Albert Arenas starting this race from 6. We have Kaito Toba, he's moving to Honda Team Asia, along with teammate Nako and Adarat Fuvapat. They're both going to Honda Team Asia. Ramirez is staying with Platinum Bay, but the Platinum Bay team swapping to KTM. Lorenzo Della Porta will be looking to move to the Aspar Mahindra team as the Moto3 Junior World Champion. Bezecchi, again, like Manzi, not racing here this weekend. He's racing with CIP alongside Enzo Bullo, who is here this weekend with that team. And then Sasaki, who, as we said, is not racing here due to an injured back, will be with the Sepang International Circuit Racing team. So a huge amount of riders moving up.
It's always good to see all these young riders move up, you know, to the World Championship, and especially in Moto3. There's a lot of riders moving up into Moto2. That should be also good. And yeah, you know, Rain's moving up to MotoGP, and Zarco and Folger. It opens up all those seats to younger and young talented riders to move up. So yeah, it's always good to see the first few races in the 2017 season, because you never know who's going to be at the top steps. And yeah, so here we go.
It's going to be a fantastic race. As we said, there were 55 riders on the entry list. We currently have, I believe it is 45 riders on the grid. It has well and truly scrolled off our screens here. We'd need about 6 more TVs. But here is one guy who impressed me to no end. Raul Fernandez. He is on the grid. On the 3rd row, he made his World Championship debut last weekend, and absolutely incredible. He qualified in 19th for the World Championship, raced to 11th place, replacing the injured Maria Herrera. Herrera's best finish all season had been 14th. So to go out and challenge for the top 10 in his debut on a bike that had, you know, barely gotten in the points, absolutely incredible for Raul Fernandez. One for the future. Watch out for that name.
Is his brother also racing? I think his brother's also racing, and
his brother races in the pre-Moto3 championship. I believe he actually won the pre-Moto3 championship.
Yeah, so they're
very fast family.
Yeah.
Dennis Foggia there, he obviously got on the podium at the start of the year with that fantastic second place. He led morning warm-up this morning. Not much we can take away from that one. Unfortunately, as we said, it was a bit damp. There we can see.
I've never seen so many young riders on a grid, 46 of them. It's crazy to see that many.
Turn 1, hopefully should be okay, but
turn 1 should be good, but turn 2 is going to be the, you know, turn 2 is always the famous corner where, you know, lap 1, everyone's trying to break deep, and it's really easy to break too deep, you know, and run into someone. And let's just hope everyone can make it clear and clean passes.
Exactly.
And as soon as, you know, turn 2 goes, you can see they all start to settle in, and it starts to create one line. And but what I love about this race, just like in Jerez, you know, there's always a big group, and it's a big group for all 20-something laps, however long the race is. So.
Exactly. You can guarantee that there will be a huge group. Last year we had 5 riders all fighting for victory, as we said, Lorenzo Della Porta in that group. Here is someone who really needs to return to the front. Jaume Masia with that Australia Galicia junior team. Really thought he would be in title contention this year, but a couple of big crashes and some lingering injuries and just, you know, general soreness have really hurt what could have been a great season for the little Spaniard. Really expected a bit more from him, in all honesty, but hopefully next year he can do a little bit more. And now we come on to the next rider on the grid on the end of the 4th row. That's 12th place. Rory Skinner had a disastrous season, you know. He's only scored 1 point, but he's been challenging for the front in so many races. It's just that, unfortunately, a series of absolutely massive crashes have resulted in him only having 1 point so far. But he is definitely one to watch. He will be with that team next year. He will also be in the Red Bull Rookies Cup. Definitely one of the favourites for the Red Bull Rookies Cup Championship overall. And that team are also looking to maybe get a bit of a step up in machinery. So watch out for Rory Skinner. He has bucket loads of talent, just needs to calm down a little bit. He got 2 top 10s here last year, so definitely has the pace. Here's another one of those Australia Galicia riders, Alonso Lopez, number 21. Been on the podium a couple of times this year, but again, just looking for some consistency. Alonso Lopez currently 9th in the championship, one of those 9 riders who could potentially finish 3rd place. It is currently Kaito Toba with 103 points, who is in 3rd. Obviously, with 50 points on offer, anyone down to Jeremy Alcoba in 12th with 61 points could be there. There's Nakran Adarat Fuvapat, as we said, moving to the World Championship next year. Part of that Asia talent team structure, bringing over riders from Japan, Thailand, Indonesia, and all over Asia to get them into World Championships. Obviously, Honda heavily involved in that team, and we really need a couple more initiatives like that for a couple of different nationalities.
They've done a really good job on that Asia Talent Cup. You know, I was in Malaysia, and they had that whole championship thing going on, and it's really good to see, you know, all these young Malaysians, you know, they were going really fast, and that's what the sport needs. You know, they need all these other international young kids to come race instead of so many Spanish and Italians, because there's so much talent in Spain and in Italy. That's what they need. They need young kids from different international, you know, countries, and championships like that, like the Asia Talent Cup, help that a lot. So.
Exactly, and there we can see the grid starting to be cleared. This race will be 18 laps. There is Aaron Polanco riding alongside Albert Arenas in that Aspar Mahindra junior team, looking to bring through talent to the World Championship. Mahindra not had the best year in the CEV. Obviously, they've taken 3 wins in the World Championship, but in the CEV, just not quite had the same pace. Stefano Manzi's put in some great rides, but a couple of technical issues have hampered those. So hopefully the Indian manufacturer can have a strong end to the year. As we said, it will be 18 laps. You can see dark clouds overhead. We could have a potential red flag. Now we'll just quickly run through the starting grid in its entirety. Marcos Ramirez on pole ahead of the Czech Karel Hanicka, with Lorenzo Della Porta in title contention in 3rd. Tony Arbolino leads Kaito Toba and Albert Arenas. Jeremy Alcoba, Raul Fernandez, and Dennis Foggia all in the mix ahead of Kazuki Masaki, Jaume Masia, and Rory Skinner rounding out the 4th row. Alonso Lopez, Nakran Adarat Fuvapat, and Yari Montoya all in for potential points. Aaron Polanco, Gerard Ryu, Charlie Nesbitt, one to watch from Britain, has Scott Redding here helping him this weekend. Very, very professional setup there for him. Danny Saez is here, Stefano Nepa, Celeste Viati, Walid Sopet, a Japanese rider, Kurihana. Manuel Gonzalez had quite a big crash this morning. Ricardo Rossi is there as well. Mark Garcia, he had a fall. Jose Garcia, Andy Farrad, one of those Asia Talent Team riders. Vincent Perez did very well in his World Championship debut. Tim Georgie, Taz Taylor, Nakamura, Gabriel Abreco, and Makai Yachenko way down the field after a penalty there. Andrea Cavalieri, Maximilian Kapler, Rufino Florido, Simon Jaspensen, Bruno Ecker, Anthony Groppi, Josh Owens, and then Alish View. 44.
You can take some breath now.
44 riders. Woo. It's going to be a big race. It looks like problems here for the number 4 rider. Bit of an issue there. Filip Salak on the Czech rider on the HMA racing machine there. Looks like he'll be starting from pit lane if they can get that bike started. The rest of the field have gone for their warm-up lap. Now, Dakota, you were here for the MotoGP race and the MotoGP test. Just give us a quick rundown of the real tricky corners to watch out for.
Definitely turn 4, which is the first right. It's always a tricky corner. It's always a famous corner that everyone crashes on because it's actually the first right after, you know, about 6 or 7 corners, and which is up the hill. The right up the hill, I think it's turn 12, and then a lot of riders were crashing also in turn 9. It's that fast right-hander. It's where you're leaned over. They carry so much corner speed. You're braking deep, and it's always that potential of, you know, losing the front. But no, I mean, turn 2 is going to be a really good passing corner. Turn 2, you got a nice straightaway, nice flowing straightaway, and I think the track's done really well. And you know, they've changed it a little bit, the layout, meaning, you know, they've put a little bit more tarmac and less rumble strip, so there's more room to make mistakes, and so it's a little bit safer, I think. So they did a great job on that, and you could see it actually in outside of turn 1, especially outside of turn 11, all those areas. And then turn 12 is a famous corner too. A lot of them been crashing there too on the right-hander. But yeah, then that last corner, like you said, you know, last year Della Porta was trying to get underneath there and kept knocking the riders out on the last lap. That's always a famous corner to want to pass on for the last lap, last corner deal.
Yeah, and there we just saw Scott Redding, as I said, he is here helping Charlie Nesbitt. Saw those two having a bit of a jog in the paddock to warm up before this race. Just look at all of those motorcycles. It is sure to be a massive group, battles throughout the field. Lots of riders here to, you know, make a bit of a name for themselves at the end of the year.
Yeah, it's always good, this one, because it's the weekend after the Grand Prix, and you usually get famous Grand Prix riders that are come here the next weekend and help young riders over here.
Exactly, and there we can see Marcos Ramirez. He has to take victory in both of these races and has to hope for a little bit of misfortune for Lorenzo Della Porta. Because if Della Porta does finish second, then that won't be enough. Della Porta would clinch the title by 4 points. It is obviously 25 points for a win, 20 for second, and then 16 for third. But with riders like Karel Hanneke, anything could happen. We've seen Hanneke be a bit aggressive in a couple of these races, and here we go. The lights will go red, and then they will go. And it looks like Lorenzo Della Porta's bike is on fire, actually. The race will be delayed. You can't see it on your screens just yet, but Lorenzo Della Porta is looking down now.
God.
His bike is on fire. Hopefully we can get a close-up shot of that one. There it is. Absolute drama. Huge fire there. This race will be delayed, no doubt. Marshals are sprinting down to that bike. Not only is his bike on fire, they now have to repair it for the second race. They better get a fire extinguisher on that one. This is motorcycle racing. Anything can happen.
What did I tell you? Anything could happen. I've actually never seen that happen before.
I've never seen that.
He's actually lucky the whole bike didn't start catching on fire.
Exactly. The bike has now been covered in a fire detergent there. That's going to be absolutely devastating for the bike. The mechanic's going to have to work overtime to try and get that cleaned up for the second race. This is huge for Marcos Ramirez. This title will go down to the last race.
They're
no matter
actually going
what.
to try to start the bike, and if it works, I think he's going to try to ride it.
He'll have to start from pit lane.
Yeah.
It looks like one of the marshals is saying, no, slow down. I'm with the marshal there. That for me personally, that bike needs to be checked. You know, just covering
for his
fire
sake.
extinguisher.
You know, I know they were nervous about the championship. Who wouldn't be? But for Della Porta's safety, I mean, it'd be crazy to send it back out.
Crazy to start from pit lane. I'm not sure that this is the safest or the most thought out move that has ever taken place, but. You can't fault Lorenzo Della Porta's commitment to this championship. There he is, rolling up to the end of pit lane to start from pit lane to see what he can salvage after his motorcycle caught fire. Number 4 still having problems there. We will try and bring you updates on what is happening with Lorenzo Della Porta. Obviously, there will be a lot of cameras going back and forth. It looks like all of the team are now going back out to the grid. We will have a delayed start, maybe even some laps. Here you can see the replay of Della Porta's bike catching on fire on the grid.
That's crazy. I mean, I've seen plenty of things happen on the grid, but that's one of the first things I've ever seen.
Certainly. The CEV Championship this year loves a bit of drama with fire. We obviously had the huge and now world-famous fireball in Aragon in the Moto2 race. There's Lorenzo Della Porta. Not sure what he thought he would do by shaking the bike there, but that looks quite a serious problem. Any idea what it could have been that was on fire?
I don't know. I mean, these bikes can, you know, they can go up to really high temperature, and you know, warming up the bike and then standing on the grid for how long, you know, they have to stand there. But I mean, it's not hot outside, so I don't understand. I don't understand what could have happened. There could have been a little bit of leakage or anything. The most important part is to fix that bike. I mean, I don't find it normal that they're going to send him out with the same bike that, you know, just caught on fire like 4 minutes ago. So
no, it looks like there are some mechanics having a bit of a look.
But I think that this little extra time will help Della Porta and the team
certainly
sort it out.
At least
what
check.
I want to know is what, you know, Ramirez is thinking right now. You know, his championship contender right now, his bike just caught on fire right next to him on the left. He just needs to, you know, stay cool.
Exactly.
And race what he has to do, and, you know, do what he has to do, and that's it. And whatever happens. But that just shows you right there, racing is not just about talent, or winning the championship is not just about talent.
You do need luck.
You need luck, you need talent, you need a whole package around you. And we've seen it so many times, you know, like bike failures, or it's not even their fault, and it's sad, but it's just the way, you know, racing is.
Exactly. Unfortunately, as you say, life can be a bit unfair. There is Lorenzo Della Porta. No doubt this race is going to be, you know, it was stressful enough starting with a championship on the line, but after those dramas, I cannot imagine the amount of pressure and the emotions going through his head. There is the team, as you can see, they're trying to wipe away the rest of that fire extinguisher. Carmelo Morales there in the red hat, getting involved to help out the team. What a champion there, obviously.
That is great.
The 11-time CEV champion, getting his hands dirty with the cloth to try and clean up that bike. That's what the CEV is all about. Huge teamwork there. Stunning to see that from Carmelo. While we watch these incredible scenes in pit lane, we do have the tyre sheet. Everybody more or less on the same tyres in the top 10. Kaito Toba and Masaki, the two Asia Talent Team riders, they've gone for a soft front. Bit different for them. Obviously, they have Alberto Puig advising them, so maybe Puig, bit of inside knowledge there. And then we also have Jeremy Alcoba. He's opted for the soft rear, whereas everybody else is on mediums. So we'll have to keep an eye out for what happens with those tyres. But no doubt the story of today is that man there, number 48, 14-point lead, quite literally up in smoke.
No, I mean, literally, the bike was on fire. And that the last time, you know, that kind of reminded me of, I think it was Hector Barbera in Aragon. His bike caught on fire on the back straight, and he started feeling heat around his legs, and then just threw the bike on the ground. And it's you don't know where it's coming from. That's the problem, because you're on top of the bike. You don't understand why the bike's starting to get hot, and it's because it's actually on fire underneath you.
It is not something you expect
right?
as a racer.
It's nothing you would expect. So thank God he's okay, you know. Thank God nothing.
Yeah. Lorenzo Della Porta, you know, checking out the bike as well.
Doing a little bit of mechanic.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. This delay, as you rightly mentioned a bit earlier, Dakota, is exactly what the team wanted. Everybody else just waiting on the grid. No doubt we will have a slightly reduced race. Right now it is showing as 17 laps as opposed to 18, but we will bring you an update.
Carmelo's doing a great job wiping that bike.
Well, I mean, obviously the Superbike class is no longer in existence next year. Maybe he's looking for a job as a chief mechanic.
He's been there so long, I think the team wouldn't mind him there. So.
Exactly. So, you know, everybody needs to earn a living, so maybe Carmelo is there to try out for next year. So as we said, it is Ramirez still on pole. The grid, nothing will change on the grid. There will just be a hole for Lorenzo Della Porta. He will have to start from pit lane. It's probably the first time I've ever seen anybody start from pit lane due to a fire. But there you go. Keep surprising us every race. Looks like the team have done a very good job to get that bike cleaned up.
Hey, I've seen in Moto3, you know, last race and here in Valencia, Brad Binder started last, basically, and won the race.
Yep,
so
dropped down to 22nd.
You know, everything's possible.
And then, of course, there was that famous race in Estoril when Marc Marquez crashed on the formation lap. His team did an incredible job. Obviously, he did start on the grid. You know, Della Porta does have to wait for the entire grid to go past him, so there will be a huge deficit. But, you know, with Della Porta's talent, he could definitely get in some points and limit the damage. But I can't see him fighting for the podium, unfortunately. Looks like we are now restarting the start procedure as the mechanics once again clear the grid. What else can happen today?
I mean, there's so many riders. I think so many things can happen. And like I said, I just want the first lap to be over with and start, you know, get this race started.
As you rightly mentioned, there are so many riders and lots of riders who are, no offense, quite inexperienced here. And, you know, Lorenzo Della Porta, very fast rider, has to try and navigate these slower riders.
And with so many riders, you are, you know, in this sport, you're gonna expect some, you know, some delay, some problems, something, you know. It's nearly impossible nothing to happen. And I think they just put one less lap on the race. So instead of 18, it's gonna be 17 laps.
Yep, 17 laps.
Not a big difference.
Yeah, not a huge difference. You know, obviously, more laps would be better for Lorenzo Della Porta, but one lap should be a huge difference. Here we go, the second warm-up lap. As we said, it looks like Lorenzo Della Porta will be starting this race, despite his bike being on fire. Not 10 minutes ago, he will be starting from pit lane, so he has now been let out for his warm-up lap. As you can see, there's some white smoke coming off. Just the remnants.
Can I say something? The team did a great job in getting that fire off quick, because if that bike would have caught more on fire, Della Porta probably would not even started this race, or not even raced the second race, you know?
Exactly. Who knows what could happen there? We see Yari Montoya just running a bit wide, as we said.
See, this is what I'm talking about, all that extra, you know, tarmac they've added on the outside of the track. It's, you know, gives the riders a little bit more safety instead of, you know, being grass or just, you know,
or gravel. Yep, exactly.
Or gravel,
we did see some quite big crashes, especially during MotoGP testing, as you said, at turn 12.
Yeah.
So this can be, you know, Valencia has a reputation as a bit of a Mickey Mouse circuit, quite tight and twisty, but it can be a very fast circuit, as you said, turn 12, very, very fast, as are turn 9 and turn 10. And on a Moto3 bike, you know, you're basically full throttle everywhere at every circuit.
Everywhere you can, and tucked in everywhere you can.
So it will be rapid for them as well. The bikes and riders just slowly making their way around. Hopefully it will be a less dramatic grid this time.
Let's hope everyone stays upright, no fires or anything.
Exactly. Not just stay upright, but no one bursts into flames this time. So Marcos Ramirez, huge advantage for him now. He could potentially go into race 2 with the championship lead now. As we said, 14 points. So as long as Ramirez finishes on the podium, he will head into the final race with the championship lead. But could Haneker spoil the party? Will someone like Jaume Masia, you know, send off the season in style? Or could we see Kaito Toba return to winning ways? Tony Arbolino, another one to watch. Just so many names to watch out for. Constant drama. Here we are back on the grid.
I was thinking, you know, where the bike caught on fire, they usually put tape on there for the radiator, you know, to keep it warmer.
It could be tape. Certainly we will analyze that fire in a bit, but here we go. The second race start. Everybody looks fire-free as the red light's going, and we are away racing. A great start, it looks like, from Karel Haneker and from Tony Arbolino on the number 44 Honda. It looks like it will be Arbolino who does lead into turn 1 with Marcos Ramirez tucked in behind. It looks like it's Kaito Toba there. Dennis Foggia with a great start as well up the inside on the black and yellow KTM. Oh, a fair few riders wide there as 44 riders try and tiptoe around.
There's that second corner.
Yep, second turn. Watch out here. First
Seems
tight
to be okay.
corner. Looks like, oh, no, couple of crashes there further back. That looks like the Dutch rider. Wallet Stopper is down. Not sure who else got caught up in that crash. Oh, huge high side for Tony Arbolino, who crashed out. Huge crash there for Dennis Foggia, who takes out Rory Skinner as well. Looks like absolute disaster for the Scottish rider.
There's that famous right-hander, you know. It gets cold. You flick it in there after the three lefts, I mean, and then you get that surprise of crashing, you know. And let's just hope everyone's okay. There's Ramirez seems to have a little lead, and Haneka's right behind him.
Haneke right there.
This is what he wants, you know. This is what Ramirez wants. He wants to kind of go away from the field, not getting tangled up with anyone. De La Porta's in the back straight. He's got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, we will keep you updated with De La Porta once he comes onto our time series.
Oh, another crash.
There's another crash. That's number 52 of Jeremy Alcoba. Clearly the cold conditions catching a few riders out already. Marcos Ramirez needs to be very careful out the lead of this race. You know, he's the one testing these conditions. It is a bit unknown as they tiptoe around. As we said, we have had rain on and off throughout the morning, so those white lines could be dangerous, but it looks like Ramirez has a pretty comfortable lead over Haneke, who in turn has a very comfortable lead over what looks to be Raul Fernandez. They're just ahead of Kaito Toba, the number 32. Then it is Alonso Lopez, the number 21, further back. We come across the grid. It is Ramirez who leads ahead of Haneke, Fernandez, Toba, Lopez, Arenas, Masaki, Montoya, Aaron Palenka, Jared Ryu in the top 10. There we go, still using the curbings out of turn 1. The second
they can't be using it too much because they'll get a penalty, like we saw in Jerez.
Exactly. And like we saw here in the World Championship, of course, Juan Mir had a 0.6-second lead, then was forced to drop a place for exceeding track limits. So many things to think about for all of these young riders. But Marcos Ramirez, the perfect ride from him so far. Nice little advantage over Karel Haneke, just enough to be comfortable. It looks like Haneke is starting to edge in. The gap between them was half a second when they crossed the line for the first time that lap. Nice little battle there, and then a huge battle for further back for 4th place. Oh, well, the drama has finally calmed down. A dramatic first lap, a dramatic grid.
There was a good, like, 6-7 crashes there.
Yeah, exactly. We will bring you an update on those riders when we get them. Hopefully everybody is okay. Did look like everybody was conscious, fortunately. No updates yet on Lorenzo De La Porta.
There's a good battle here for 5th, I saw.
Yeah, 5th, and it does look like Karel Haneke is gaining. Lorenzo De La Porta currently in 37th place. So a lot of work to do before he's anywhere even close to the points, but here it is, 3 riders out the front, still taking it very, very careful. As we said, it is quite cold out there right now.
Watch, here's the...
Oh, it looks like Lorenzo De La Porta's crashed. He was involved with, well, it stopped. I did not see that one. Absolute disaster for De La Porta. Bike on fire. There's Tony Arbolino going down. There's Dennis Foggia, and then it looks like, unfortunately, Rory Skinner did go over the top of Dennis Foggia. It looks like one of the 58 Squadron Corsa bikes did touch there with Jeremy Alcoba. Bit of a gesture there from Alcoba. And there we can see the number 71 of Dennis Foggia and the number 44 of Tony Arbolino. 2 Italian bikes parked up there. Not the start of the race either of those would have wanted after some fantastic results earlier in the season.
See, De La Porta went into turn 2. You know, he's starting from pit lane. What's he thinking? He's thinking, oh, I got to try to pass as many riders as I can the first lap and try to, you know, I don't want Ramirez to go away. But turn 2 kind of, you know, he went in there a little bit too deep and lost the front. And he's going to pay for that right now. He's paying for that right now in 32nd place or whatever he's at. And he's got a lot of work to do. But, again, there's still a lot of laps to go.
But a fire and a crash is a lot of adversity to come back
No,
from.
but I mean, for Ramirez, he needs to just, you know, keep it up and not crash out and just gain these points. He needs these points right now, and
he really does. 25 points would be huge.
It might switch it over to for the last race.
Exactly. So right now, these leading trio are doing laps all in the 140. The rest of the field doing 141s, but mostly 142s. So a really strong, solid pace from these leading 3. You know, nice little gaps between them as they cross the line. And that looks like another crash. There is Filippo Fellini on the Rins Pro Circuito bike sprinting up. Luckily, he's okay, but a crash for the number 10. So Ramirez currently has a lead of about 0.6 of a second with Raul Fernandez, 0.2. Raul Fernandez, they're right on the back of Karel Haneke. So Raul Fernandez trying to do some work for his teammate, hopefully try and take some points off Marcos Ramirez out the front if he can. But Ramirez is so experienced and already has a pretty comfortable gap of 0.6 of a second.
You've been talking about that Raul kid, and he's been doing really well. He did really well, like you said, in the World Championship, and he's been doing, I think he's young. He's really young, I think, too, and I think he's he's definitely a rider to look out for in the future.
Exactly. He'll be with the Aspar Mahindra team in this championship next year.
Okay.
So, you know, going from a very strong team in the Leglise team to another very strong team. The Aspar team, obviously, with factory support from Mahindra. So hopefully he can continue these podium challenges throughout them. But right now, he has Karel Hanneke in his sights. Raul Fernandez has continued to set fast lap after fast lap. Last lap, he did a 1:40.1, the fast lap of the race so far, about 2/10 faster than both of the riders ahead of him. It does look like this leading group is closing up a bit. Meanwhile, the battle for fourth is miles behind. We can't even see them on our TV screens.
Looks like top three guys are basically doing a second a lap quicker than the rest of the field.
Yep, huge,
which is a really big difference, and you can clearly see Hanneke's. He's just keeping that same gap to Ramirez. You know, it's hard little gap, but I think they're going to catch him in a few laps, to be honest.
There you can see that monumental battle for fourth. It was 0.6 last lap between Ramirez and Hanneke. Now it's 0.7. Ramirez having a bit of a sniff up the inside and does slide through on Karel Hanneke. Now, what will Hanneke do here is the big question. Will he latch onto the back of Raul Fernandez?
He should, because he should see that Raul Fernandez is quicker than him. And
another fastest lap of the race.
There you go.
Really great lap times there from the young Spaniard. A 1:40 dead, you know, that was pretty much the exact, that's actually faster than he went in qualifying for Raul Fernandez, and it is much colder today, so Raul Fernandez clearly has a lot of pace, but is also pushing really hard right now. A lot of pressure on Fernandez as well. No doubt that team would appreciate his efforts immensely if he can take even 5 points off him. There is Lorenzo Della Porta back on track after a fire and a crash. He's up in, can't quite see.
Our screens are not really.
Yeah, he's not quite on our timing screens just yet. Certainly not in the points, but he is doing laps, as you can see there. Missing his front bubble. He's riding a bit of a cafe racer Husqvarna right now. Very stylish. He's in 33rd place. I've just spotted him on our continuously scrolling timing screens. So Lorenzo Della Porta, huge amount of work to do as this man here. Marcos Ramirez continues to defend his lead at the front. Ramirez, you know, luck on Ramirez's side today right now, but we still do have 13 laps to go. That's a lot that could happen in these tricky conditions. You know, there are dark clouds overhead. We could potentially have rain. We also have Raul Fernandez and Karel Hanneke hot on the heels. The gap is back to 0.7. Again, Raul Fernandez with another fastest lap of the race. So continuing to just chip away, but it looks like Ramirez has stepped up the pace as well. Karel Hanneke running a bit wide there, very wide on corner exit.
A big gap, you know, the top three's created a really big gap to for the fourth position group. I think it's a big group for fourth place, and
8.5 seconds back to fourth, but then
But again, I'm telling you, it's a 1.5 second different per lap between the top three and the guys in fourth, which is incredibly big, you know, and
rapid pace from these leaders. Just to bring you some updates from down the field, it is Albert Arenas currently in fourth, ahead of Yari Montoya, Kaito Toba 6th, Alonso Lopez 7th, Jared Ryu 8th, Masaki 9th, Jaume Masia 10th.
There's that Leopard team, you know, I love how they show the mechanics in each garage, from the Leopard team to the Calvo team.
All and looking very stressed.
Yes, they do.
Nakar and Adarat Vivapat 12th, Stefano Nepa in 13th, Andy Farrad in the points in 14th, Aaron Palenko 15th, Charlie Nesbitt, the British wildcard, in 16th place and on the edge of the points there, Jose Garcia 17th, Vincent Perez 18th, Rossi in 19th, and then Enzo Boulon in 20th. And here, Raul Fernandez, huge gains now.
Already gained them.
Right with Marcos Ramirez. This race is far from over. We still have 11 laps to go now as they cross the line. This is
39.6 from Fernandez.
0.4 of a second faster than Ramirez.
That is a fast lap.
Huge pace from this kid. That lap, in fact, would have put him in third place on the grid. That is faster than his teammates' qualifying time. Absolutely stunning lap from Raul Fernandez. That is, I believe, Raul Fernandez's personal best ever lap around this Valencia circuit.
He's riding really well. He's got, you know, he's got Ramirez as his little, you know, toe to help him. but now he can just settle behind him after all that good work he's done, and he knows he's got 10 laps to go, so he's got plenty of time to play around. Ramirez needs to, you know, kind of settle if he passes him, and
second wouldn't be the end of the world.
Yes, exactly. He shouldn't be too greedy and make any mistakes.
Yep, and of course this could be Raul Fernandez's first ever win. He's had 2 podiums, one in Portimao, one in Jerez. And Fernandez is currently on 92 points, so 11 points behind Kaito Toba in the battle for third. So not only could this help out his teammate in the battle for the championship, but this could be immensely helpful in his battle for a top 3 place in the championship.
Dropping back a little bit.
Yep, Haneker not really in contention now. Haneker almost a second back on these leading duo. Both of them at the front have to be careful. There's no point making an aggressive move and potentially crashing out, especially for Ramirez. As we said, Ramirez does need to just keep calm and not do anything too silly. It is still Ramirez who leads. Haneker now a second back on the leaders, so a big gap.
Della Porta is in 30th, and he's doing 1:41.0, which is basically the pace that the third position guy's doing.
And as we were saying that, it is Raul Fernandez who has hit the front. Number 23, can he stretch the lead? Will Marcos Ramirez attack back, or will he just settle for second and go into the final race with a 6-point lead over Lorenzo Della Porta? Obviously, there are 5 points difference. Here is the man we're talking about, Lorenzo Della Porta, with a huge swathe of riders behind him. No screen on that bike. That bike has been on fire before. No doubt that won't have helped the front tire life at getting airshot there. You can see no screen for the Italian. Gonna hurt him down the straights when he tries to slip to him. Taz Taylor, number 60, the British rider behind him. So a lot of very memorable names there. It looks like Marcos Ramirez has hit the front again. So Ramirez wants this first place. He's definitely going to put up a fight, and it looks like their battle has allowed Karel Haneker to join in. So this battle for first is far from over. Everything is still on the line here. Some spots of rain on the camera.
Spots of rain.
There is the
what
potential.
We're scared of.
There is the potential championship standing if Ramirez does cross the line in first place. 202 points, only 11 points ahead of Della Porta. So the tables would be turned, but nothing is impossible. But right now we are focused on this thrilling and intriguing battle at the front. Raul Fernandez, much smaller than Marcos Ramirez, rather, going to have the advantage down the straight. Again, Fernandez with the slightly faster lap there. They've now dropped into the 141s as we see drops of rain on the screen. This race could be red flagged, but if we do reach 2/3 race distance, then it would be declared a result. So that is
I think if it starts raining, Della Porta, it'll be good for Della Porta. It'll give him a chance to regroup.
Exactly,
with the red
especially if
flag.
they restart the race.
Yeah, especially now. But if it holds up and 3/4 of the race finishes, then I don't think they have to restart the race. If the race has gone past three quarters.
Yeah.
Ramirez and Fernandez both did a 41.3 because they each passed each other. So it gave Haneker a good 0.8 of a second to regain that gap. As you can see, he's really moved up closer to them too. Then this spots of rain again.
Spots of rain as Fernandez does close up on the rear of Marcos Ramirez around turn 11 as they come down the short straight into turn 12. That fast right-hander that we saw all 3 of the Suzuki MotoGP bikes crash at Andre Iannone. Definitely racking up the crash bill for his new team, but no such issues for these 2 riders out the front. Fernandez pretty comfortable in second there. No one able to open up a gap, and it does look like, as we said, Karel Haneker continuing to just slowly eat into their advantage. They do cross the line back into the 140.6s for all 3 of the leading riders. Fernandez right with Marcos Ramirez right on his tail. Could potentially make a move at any moment. Lorenzo Della Porta up into 24th position as they cross the line. There is the intense battle for 4th place. It does look like it is Kaito Toba who has taken advantage there as he runs a bit wide on track, followed by the number 21 of Alonso Lopez. That's Honda versus Honda with Yari Montoya there. Then the Mahindra of Albert Arenas just behind. Any one of those guys could still take it. And then, of course, we do also have another VR46 rider here, Celestino Vietti from the Italian Championship. He's making his CEV debut there. He's been running in up, and there we go, Yari Montoya up the inside of number 21, Alonso Lopez there. An incredible fight. Look at all those bikes together.
This is what racing's all about.
This is what racing is all about, exactly. Kaito Toba keeping cool. He is currently in 3rd place, but would lose that 3rd place to Raul Fernandez if Fernandez does keep up that thrilling ride at the front. There it is, number 32 versus number 55, Yari Montoya, another young Italian to watch. Albert Arenas, hugely experienced here, took some wins at the end of last season, not found life on the Mahindra as easy as on that Husqvarna last year, but has put in some great rides. Albert Arenas is currently 8th overall and could potentially finish 3rd. It looks like Fernandez has hit the front, and Haneke seems to still be sticking in there half a second behind. Marcos Ramirez sitting up down the straight. Marcos Ramirez, very, very tactical race from him here. Does not want to be leading this race as the rain is starting to fall. He is now more than happy to settle for 2nd as he sits up down the straight.
I think the teams actually also told him, oh, nice, here's the pass.
Yeah.
I think the team's actually also telling him where Della Porta is. And if he sees that Della Porta isn't even close to the points, he's just going to really just sit behind and wait. And he has nothing, nothing to lose, and he's just gonna wait and see what the weather plays out. And
exactly,
Haneke's there now.
Exactly.
Still 6 laps to go.
Yep. Even
they're waving the yellow flags out.
Yep. So there must have been a crash. Even if Ramirez finishes in 3rd, he would still have a 2-point advantage over Lorenzo Della Porta going into the last race.
Yes, but it would be more comfortable to have an 11.
Exactly. More points, the merrier. And there is the crash. It looks like that is 2 of the Asia Talent Team riders. It looks like that is Nakran Adarat Fuvapat and Misaki.
Oh, that was for the 4.
What has happened here? Misaki there, the number 31. Looks like he collided with Yari Montoya. And then unfortunately got run over by his teammate there, Nakran Adarat Fuvapat. Good to see Misaki up there after unfortunately getting run over. Hopefully no serious damage there. Good to see them both moving around and that they both were conscious after an incredibly scary incident like that, of course. Yeah, we can see, just looking out of our commentary box window, we do see Raul Fernandez's team telling him to take it nice and easy. Here is that intense battle for 4th. Lots of different lines. It is now Karel Haneke who has hit the front. Scenes out the front there as the Czech rider takes advantage. All still on the line. Nobody really wanting to take the lead in this very tricky race, as we've seen huge drama and now rain continuing to fall. Ramirez, probably the most experienced rider on this grid.
If I was Ramirez, I'd stay away from Haneke the last few laps.
Especially when it's starting to get wet.
Yes.
Karel Haneke, of course, for those of you joining us for the first time, Karel Haneke does have a bit of a reputation as a crasher. Here we see double slipstream for Karel Haneke down the straight and into turn 1. Marcos Ramirez goes one way, but Karel Haneke has the inside line and breaks just a little deeper into turn 1, but it is now Ramirez who slides ahead of Karel Haneke. A great fight out the front as they continue to push in the mid to low 140s all out the front. It is championship contender Ramirez who does currently lead this race. Karel Haneke, of course, here in the joined this championship a couple of rounds ago after losing his World Championship ride. He's currently 17th overall, but could potentially rocket up the positions with another podium challenge. Raul Fernandez sitting there in 3rd. Here is the move by Marcos Ramirez, just slips up the inside on Karel Haneke. Nice and easy there, no dramas. And it looks like Marcos Ramirez is trying to pull the pin now, but it looks like Raul Fernandez has responded to that one. It is now getting past Karel Haneke. Can Fernandez respond to Marcos Ramirez, or will Ramirez open up just enough of a gap to cruise home comfortably with a victory.
Oh, another one.
Yep, and that is Kaito Toba, who has now crashed out of the race as well. What has happened here? He just lost the front there. So easy to do. And that is absolutely devastating.
Not a good day for the Asia Cup.
Exactly, and he, as we said, he was leading that battle for third. That will now almost certainly
another
go.
one.
And yep, that is another one that looks like one of
the Storia Galicia ones.
I think that was actually one of the Grassini bikes. I believe that was the Italian Rossi there. We will get confirmation for you on that one in a second. Yep, that was Ricardo Rossi, number 54, racing for the Grassini team on a Honda. He has slid out on his CEV debut. Ramirez.
As soon as Haneke gets in the front and Ramirez passes him, he always creates that little gap, and then Fernandez needs to get by Haneke quick and not let Ramirez go.
Exactly, and looks like another crash there. That looks like that's Andy Farrad, the other. Oh, and there's another crash there. That's
could be oil on the track.
Number
in turn
80
4.
bike, the Italian Iraqi, sorry, racing for the TM Racing Factory team. So that is now all of the Asia Talent Team bikes. Again, just losing the front.
Or it's you know, it's spit spotting and a little bit of rain, or it's just really cold. It's one of the. I don't think it's oil, to be honest.
So that
must be.
Yep.
It must be. Here's another one.
Yeah, there's the number 80 bike, as we said, the TM Racing Machine. Lucky to see them both get up and walk away. Unfortunately, as you said, a bad day for the Asia Talent Team. None of their riders have managed to score some bigger gaps opening at the front. They have dropped again down into the 140s.
Delaporta's already in 15th place with all those crashes, so he's got 1 point.
That's incredible for Lorenzo Delaporta. Could get some very, very solid points, but he is currently 7 seconds behind the rider in 14th place. So 15th could be the end of the road for him. Marcos Ramirez just set his fastest lap of the race, a 140.045. So he is now really pushing to open up a bit of a gap as we have 4 laps left. This gap could be enough to nurse home a win. As we said, a win would be huge with Lorenzo Delaporta only scoring. Oh, Lorenzo Delaporta now up to 14th. We must have had another crash, so Lorenzo Delaporta scoring 2 points. Every point is precious for the Italian rider right now. Absolute scenes here in Valencia. We didn't expect anything that has happened today. The drama keeps on coming. Marcos Ramirez trying to stay as cool, calm, and collected.
Fernandez is not giving up. He really wants that first win, and he's a young little kid that, you know, the first win's always that special one, and why not do it in Valencia? And I think more of a better chance in this one he might not get. So there is
the injured warrior, Lorenzo Delaporta, the true ride of a champion. You know, you cannot fault his determination.
Never give up.
Lady Luck has thrown everything at Lorenzo Delaporta, and he continues to just push ahead. But it is Marcos Ramirez, his championship rival. There is the Leopard Racing team looking on. As you said, Raul Fernandez responded. Ramirez dropping into the 139s again as Raul Fernandez drops into the low 140s. So both of these guys at the front pushing, and yet again dropping Karel Haneke from the battle for victory. But Haneke looking pretty safe in third, almost no matter what happens.
That's really good from Ramirez, you know, to bang these fast laps here on the last 3 laps to go. And it really shows that he's a talented, you know, really young, talented rider. And Fernandez isn't giving up. I know he hasn't given up. He's really pushing to try to get away. But Ramirez keeps on giving these hard lap times for him to match. And it'll be interesting to see the next 2 laps, what lap times they do.
Exactly. Of course, we do only have 2 and a bit laps to go, so this race is very much in the end stages. If the heavens were to open and it were to bucket down, the race would be red flagged and that would be declared a result. But right now it does look like the sun is starting to bite through the clouds, so it looks like we will go the distance, which is absolutely wonderful news to hear as they come down to turn 12 yet again through the fast right-hander, then flick it left. All the MotoGP bikes start to slide out the rear there. No such issue for the little Moto3 machines. Keep it nice and tight, as tucked in as you can be. Here is what the championship would look like. Raul Fernandez would move into third. 9 points between Ramirez and Delaporta. that could be just enough. Of course, if Della Porta were to win and then Marcos Ramirez were to finish third, I believe they would be tied on 5 race wins apiece. So then it would go to second places, on which they are both right now tied. And then it would go to third places, in which case Lorenzo Della Porta would be champion based on podium countbacks. That is how tight this championship potentially is. Still everything in play as we start the penultimate lap. Marcos Ramirez, huge comfortable gap there. I can't see Fernandez closing up that gap unless Ramirez has a big
another
moment.
40.0, so you know it's really hard to beat that time. And again, they're going 1 second quicker than the rest of the field. Haneka's dropped back quite a bit now. He's 3.5 seconds behind them. And Della Porta is seems, I think he's just going to stay in 14th place, because he's got a 5 second work to do to catch Polanco in 13th place. And with 2 laps to go, I think it's going to be really hard to do unless someone else crashes.
We have seen a lot of cold crashes at turn 4.
We didn't see that many crashes in that turn last weekend, but then again, last weekend it was probably 10 degrees warmer than it is outside.
Easily 10 degrees warmer. When this race started, the track was 18 degrees.
Yeah, it was cold.
Tyre sheet saying an ambient temperature of just 15, and then of course we did have those spots of rain, so all very, very difficult. There we go, the championship. Once again, nothing changed there. As we wind up to begin the final lap, Marcos Ramirez, you'll have to ask him, what did he think when he saw Lorenzo Della Porta's bike on fire? What are his tactics going into the final race? Again, I think it will just be push as fast as he can out the front. Here we go, the last lap of the first race. Of course, there is still 1 race after this to decide this championship. Number 42, Marcos Ramirez, looking so confident as he cruises around this Valencia circuit yet again. Ramirez did take the first win of the season here, then took second place, as we said, just losing out to Kaito Toba in the second race at the start of this year. Looking very, very comfortable. It does look like Fernandez is closing in that gap slightly, but I can't see him doing it with only half a lap remaining. There is Lorenzo Della Porta still in 14th place. Who would have thought he could have gotten 2 points after catching on fire, starting from pit lane and crashing?
No, I mean, you need to feel for the guy too.
Exactly.
As a racer, you need to really feel bad for the guy. It wasn't his fault, and now he just has to, you know, relax and kind of reset his mind for the second race and never give up, because as you saw, anything could happen.
Exactly, and here we go around the long sweeping left-hander, turn 13. Only 1 corner now separates Marcos Ramirez from victory. His 5th win of the season. He will now take over the lead in the championship. Marcos Ramirez, number 42, crosses the line. He holds up the number 1. He will head into the last race with a championship lead. Raul Fernandez moves into 3rd place with 2nd. Karel Haneke tries to wheelie the bike with 3rd. A solid result for the Czech rider, his 2nd podium on the bounce. Now, who has won out in this battle for 4th place? It does look like it will be Albert Arenas on the Mahindra. Can he hold it to the line? He does. He just beats out Jeremy Alcoba, and Gerard Ryu, the teammate of Ramirez, gets his best result of the season. And here we go further back, the battle for 7th. Huge battle there. There is Lorenzo Della Porta. As you can see, the tuck doing him no good as he crosses the line in 14th place to take 2 championship points. Those could be the 2 points that win him the championship. You never know what will happen. Marcos Ramirez cruising around with the big number 1 in the air. Number 47, that is Aaron Polanco. Looks like he has been awarded a 5-second time penalty, no doubt for exceeding track limits. Yep, there we go, for repeatedly exceeding track limits. Very common here. There is Lorenzo Della Porta's father. Big hugs to the team, you know. They've done all that they can, as you said. Absolutely disastrous luck for him, but there is still a chance that it could happen in the last race.
9 points is not a lot, and I think if Della Porta just needs to go out there in the second race and give it his all and give it, you know, be a world champion or a European Moto3 World Champion rider. And
Moto3 Junior World Championship. This is a world championship.
I know.
So yeah, certainly, exactly. Both of those guys, Ramirez and Della Porta, so eager to move up to the World Championship. Nice little burnout there from Raul Fernandez. He does still have a race to do, so maybe he doesn't want to stress
I kind of like
the engine
that kid.
too much. No, he is an absolutely fantastic character. If you don't follow him on Instagram, be sure to go follow him on Instagram, because his Instagram story is a very exciting one. He's always popping wheelies on his bicycle. I guess you better be getting down across to do the interview. Of course, be sure to ask Marcos Ramirez, what did he think when he saw that bike on fire, and what is his strategy for the last race of the year? Of course, we do have one more 18-lap race coming up for you a bit later today at 2 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Oh, sorry, not 2 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. It's 1 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time and 2 p.m. local time here in Spain. There is Marcos Ramirez with Ricard Hoven, the team principal there. Exactly what Marcos Ramirez wanted. I'm sure that nobody predicted that at the start of the weekend, even as they were lining up on the grid. There is Raul Fernandez, possibly the biggest smile in the paddock right now, as he takes a well-earned second place. His best result of the season so far. He had previously had 2 third-place podiums, and of course that does lift him up to 3rd in the championship. And another podium for Karel Haneke. Not sure what Karel Haneke's up to next year. He clearly has the talent. He crashed a lot. He crashed too much, frankly, with the Red Bull KTM IO team. Then was with the Platinum Bay real estate team and just didn't get on with the Mahindra. So had a bit of a tough year, but he does have the talent. Here are the final race results. It is Marcos Ramirez who takes victory, a second ahead of Raul Fernandez. Karel Haneke in 3rd place ahead of Albert Arenas. Alonso Lopez there in 5th. Jared Ryu, his best result in 6th. Vincent Perez fought his way up to 7th ahead of Yari Montoya. Then Stefano Nappa in 10th. Great to see Charlie Nesbitt, the MotoStar Moto3 British champion, in 11th place. Jose Garcia in 12th. Lorenzo Della Porta moved up to 13th after that penalty for Aaron Polanco. So 3 points for him there. And here is the race restart. There we can see the smoke coming from number 48, and then fire. It is like Balrog from Lord of the Rings is trying to channel himself through the radiator of that bike. Very dark smoke there. Could be a petrol fire, could be a tape fire. Of course, they do put tape on the radiators when it is cold. We will try and do some digging to see if we can find out exactly what was the cause. But then racing did get underway, and it was a great start from Tony Arbolino, the number 44 bike, the white Honda there on the left-hand side of your picture, now cutting through to the center. Marcos Ramirez behind, a great start from the Asia Talent Team riders as well, but it would be a bit of a disaster for them. There we see Lorenzo Della Porta, rapid start from him, but then a huge crash there while it stopped the Dutch rider going down. Lorenzo Della Porta straight to his feet. He could be an Olympic sprinter with that speed. There we can see the 2 Australia Galicia bike going down. Number 52, Jeremy Alcoba, going down there. And here we see a crash for Tony Arbolino, followed by a massive high side for Dennis Foggia, with Rory Skinner then going over the top of the luckless Italian. Both of those guys had absolutely no luck this year. As we said, 44 riders started this race. 44 riders certainly didn't finish this race, unfortunately. It looks like we only had 29 finishes. In fact, out the front, we had a very tactical battle. All 3 of those riders at the front did take a turn out leading. Raul Fernandez with huge, huge speed, enough to challenge Marcos Ramirez, but we did have some tricky conditions which caused them to all play tactical. Here we have the big battle for 4th place behind. And there we see the crash for 2 more of the Asia Talent Team riders. Masaki, unfortunately, getting run over by his teammate Nakaran Adarat, who have had out of the front. Even Karel Haneke had to turn the number 92, but it wouldn't last long as Marcos Ramirez slid back through and then opened up a big, big gap to eventually take victory in this race. And what an important and decisive victory it would eventually and potentially turn out to be. Crossing the line now with the championship lead in hand. Lorenzo Della Porta ended up picking up 3 points there. So Lorenzo Della Porta will now have 194 points. Meanwhile, Marcos Ramirez, he picked up 25 points. So he will have, I believe that is 202 points. So that is 6 points separating them as I do that math on the fly. Here we go, up on the podium there. Great result Absolutely incredible result for Marcos Ramirez and the Leopard Racing team. There we can see the trophies coming up, the exact same trophy. There you can see that pit lane will open at midday local time for the Moto2 race. Here we have the team principal of the Leopard team getting the team's trophy. Carol Haneker getting awarded the third place trophy. Of course, very similar trophies to what they have in the World Championship there as well. And Raul Fernandez just waiting for his second place trophy now. As we said, Fernandez's best result of the year. What a great ride by the young Spaniard. Certainly one to watch throughout the year. Huge amounts of talent and huge amounts of energy. Exactly what we like to see in racing. Not a bad bone in his body. Here we have the oversized fuel check for Mr. Fernandez there. Free fuel for him. One of the many advantages of having Repsol as the title sponsor for this championship. And now here we go, Marcos Ramirez getting the winner's trophy. But even more important than that winner's trophy is the 25 points that accompany him as he looks to take his first CEV title. He's on 3 previous occasions finished inside the top 5 in the championship. Here's the Spanish national anthem.
Ese aplauso para ese podio de honor.
A well-deserved round of applause there for Marcos Ramirez. Of course, both he and Carol Haneker do have some carver. Raul Fernandez under 18, so we do have to obey drinking laws there, but no carver will be sprayed, as of course they do have to go out and race again, and nobody wants to be sticky and on a motorbike. I know I certainly don't, at least. Oh, and it looks like Raul Fernandez, with his fizzy water, has gotten Marcos Ramirez, and Marcos Ramirez takes revenge with the carver. Ramirez spraying his team there, thanking them for a job well done with setting up his motorcycle and fireproofing it before the start of the race so he didn't have similar issues. A quick swig there of carver that will have no effect on their driving, I am sure, for the second race. And we will soon be cutting to Dakota, who will be chatting with the winner of the race for the winner's interview. A slightly different format here today due to the hectic race schedule we have. As we said, we do have 3 more races coming up, and I can just see Marcos Ramirez walking over to Dakota now, so hopefully we'll have a word from the race winner right now.
Marcos, great job on your race. Crazy grid. De La Porta's bike catching on fire. But what's your thoughts on that and your thoughts on the second race this afternoon?
Marcos, buena carrera. ¿Qué pensaste en la parrilla con la moto de La Porta y qué planes tienes para la segunda carrera esta tarde?
Bueno, en inglés. Primero inglés. When I saw De La Porta, I'm thinking, relax, the race is the same. And in the first part, I not push very hard because the condition of the track is not really good. But I do a good lap time, and I push a little bit, and Raúl and Karel catch me. And in the last 5 laps, I push hard, and I do 39 2 laps, and I can pull away a little bit, and I win. In the second race, I want to do the same. I hope win the championship.
We will see. ¿En español?
Bueno, cuando vi que De La Porta estaba fuera, bueno, salía último, he pensado en relajarme, que la carrera iba a hacer igual, y al principio no he empujado muy fuerte porque la pista no estaba muy bien, y a falta de 5 vueltas he dado el tirón para descolgarme un poco para poder ganar con una pequeña ventaja y bueno, y esperemos que ahora para la segunda carrera pues pueda, con estos nuevos puntos que le llevo ahora a Lorenzo, pues voy a intentar arriesgar menos e intentar ganar el campeonato.
Mucha suerte.
Muchas gracias.
As you can see there, Marcos Ramirez, a clear goal for the next race. That is victory. And here we can see the overall championship standings. Looks like my math was right, and Marcos Ramirez does lead with 102 points. 8 points ahead, not 6 points, my math was wrong there, ahead of Lorenzo Della Porta. Raul Fernandez in third, Kaito Toba still battling for third. Ayumu Sasaki, despite not racing, is fifth ahead of Albert Arenas, Alonso Lopez, Tony Arbolino, and then Masaki in ninth. That battle for second place does now close down significantly. So with 25 points, it is now a 2-horse race. I believe Dan Foggia still 10th, ahead of Stefano Manzi, Jeremy Alcoba 12th, Maka Yachenko 13th, Karol Haneke in 14th, Jal Messiah 15th, Nakaranato at Fupat there 16th, Marco Bezecchi 17th, ahead of Gerard Ryu, who scored significant points there with his best finish of the year. Great ride there from the other Leopard Racing bike, and we will now be cutting over to Moto2. Don't go anywhere. Moto2, then Superbike, and then Moto3 are coming up right now. Hello and welcome to the Circuito de la Comunidad Valenciana Ricardo Tormo. This 4-kilometre long circuit bears the name of the 2-time 50cc Grand Prix champion Ricardo Tormo, and today is host to the last round of the FIM CEV Repsol. Coming up now is the last round of the FIM CEV Repsol Moto2 European Championship. Stephen Odendaal was crowned champion in Portugal after a dominant season, but the battle for second place is still red hot. My name is Harry Lloyd, and joining me once again is the ever-smiling and highly experienced Dakota Momola. We'll be your hosts for what is sure to be an absolutely hectic 19-lap affair around the 14 corners of the Valencia circuit, a full-blown Grand Prix circuit as the grid lines up. We're about to see perhaps the best race of the year. We've seen huge drama in the Moto3 class already. There's been a lot of happenings, a lot of comings and goings since we were last in the paddock at Jerez. A couple of signings